Recently, I was asked the question, how do I get started doing Fortran software development on Windows? Like, what does your setup look like? How do you set up Windows for yourself to do Fortran development? And so I thought I would go through and show you exactly how you can go from a brand new Windows computer to doing Fortran development the way that I do Fortran development. Uh, it's entirely possible that there are some other setups that you may prefer that will work as well, but this is how I do it. So I'm starting here from a brand new installation of Windows 10 home on a virtual machine, so you can be sure that the steps that I'm doing, I'm not going to miss anything that you'll need to get installed as well. Uh, I don't believe anything that I'm going to go through would have would conflict with anything that might already be installed on your computer. But this is just to make sure that you can get everything that you do need. So, uh, starting from brand new Windows installation, I'm going to open up a web browser. Uh, the only one included by default is Microsoft's new Edge browser, so it's going to tell me, yeah, this is welcome to your new browser. Um, I don't need any of this stuff, so I'll just hit complete setup and close that. Um, so the first thing that I install is Git, and Git's installer on Windows is going to include a handful of additional nice tools that I like. So that's kind of why I go with that first. So I'm going to go to git-scm.com, and we're going to click the download button when we get there. Download whatever version for Windows, and that should go ahead and start the download. I'm going to go ahead and open up a file explorer window and go to the downloads folder so that as soon as it is done, I can run it. All right, so now that that's installed, we'll just double click on the installer, hit yes, next to accept the license. The default installation location is fine. The defaults here for everything is just fine. Again, the default is fine here. Um, use Vim as the default editor for Git. I am comfortable with Vim. If you're not, you may want to change this to something like Notepad or Notepad++ or something like that. I'm just going to leave it as Vim. Um, I'm going to go ahead and override the default branch to be main, and then I want use Git and optional Unix tools from the command prompt. This puts a bunch of nice Unix command line utilities that if you're from Linux or Mac and you're familiar with command line there, this will just make your Windows command prompt a lot more familiar. So you'll have commands like ls, rm, cd, etc. Uh, but if you're happy with Windows command, then you probably don't need these. But I like having it. Um, the OpenSSL library, that's the default, that's fine. Check out Windows style, commit Unix style line endings. That's a good practice. So leave that one. Uh, I'm going to say use Windows default console window, and I like only ever fast forward for the git pull behavior, and use Git's credential manager. That's fine. Enable file system caching. Yep. I'm not gonna bother to do the experimental thing there. And finally, we're installing. All right, and now that it's finished installing, I don't need to view the release notes. I'll just click finish. And now we have Git installed. The next thing we need a Fortran compiler. Uh, there's a company called at equation.com. So point your browser to equation.com. They have been nice enough to provide a free download of Fortran compiled for Windows. And the installer is really nice. It comes with the debugger and a couple of extra tools. So go to equation.com and under Programming Tools, click Fortran C, C++, and they've got some downloads for the releases. I didn't have good luck with the 11.1 release when I tried a little bit earlier. So for now, I'm sticking with the 10.3. And so that'll download. And now that that's downloaded, Windows wants to complain about it potentially being a virus. So make sure you click Keep, Show More, Keep Anyway. And now we can go and see that it is in fact downloaded. And so now we can double click on that installer and say yes. And we'll accept the license. The default installation location is fine. Okay, and now that it's done installing, we'll just click finish. The next thing we need is we want our build tool, FPM. So go back to the browser, head over to github.com/fortran-lang/fpm to go to the FPM homepage. Click on releases over here, and we'll use the latest release and download the Windows version of the executable. Again, it's going to complain this is potentially dangerous, but we'll go ahead and say keep anyway. Now we need to rename and move this to a place that it's expected. So to rename it, just remove everything after FPM from the name. And we're going to move it to, so I'm going to right click, cut, and we're going to move it to C, users, your username, app data. You may need to say view and have it show hidden files so that you can see the app data folder. Go to app data, roaming. We need to create a new folder here and name it local, all lowercase. Create another new folder in that folder and call it bin, and paste the FPM executable in there. So that's C users your username, app data, roaming, local, bin. And now we're also going to add that to our path variable. So find the place where you can edit your environment variables. Basically, I usually just hit the Windows key and then start typing path, and usually one of the options that shows up is edit the system environment variable. So if you remember how to get there through the control panel, you can do it that way. So we get the system properties dialog box, click the environment variables, select path, edit. Now we want a new, and we need that path that we just put the FPM executable in. So users, your username, app data, roaming, local, bin. Hit OK, OK, OK. And at this point, we should be able to open a command prompt and make sure everything is working. First, let's make sure our compiler is working. So if we type Fortran -- version, we get a response that yes, we're running version 10.3 of Fortran. Cool. Let's make sure FPM is working. So type FPM -- version, and we get a response from FPM as well. Let's test that FPM actually can build a Fortran project for us. So I'm going to clone one of my projects from gitlab.com, everything functional, vegetables.git, change directories into there, run fpm test. That should download and build all the dependencies, and then run the tests. There, it's compiling. Awesome. We can compile some Fortran projects now. But now, how are we going to edit our Fortran code? I like the Atom editor. There are a couple of plugins that I like for that make coding some Fortran source code a little bit nicer. But first, one of the plugins that I use for Atom has an external dependency that is a Python package. So I'm going to install that first. So I'll go to python.org. Click the Downloads button and download the latest version for Windows. Go back to our Downloads folder and double click on the installer and install now. Check this add Python to the path as well, and then click install now and allow. Now that that is installed, we can close the installer and we'll go back to our command prompt. I think I may have to, yes I will. I need to open a new one so that the path takes effect. And Python version, so we get a response, and pip is Python's package manager, and we're going to use that to install the dependency I need for one of my Atom plugins, and it's called, so we'll run pip install Fortran language server. And that is an external package that will allow some of the IDE-like features. One of the plugins that I use, it uses this in the background. So we can close that command prompt. And now we can go install Atom from atom.io and click the nice big yellow download button. And now that that is downloaded, go double click on the installer and it will start installing. And once it's done installing, it will open Atom for you. And we do want it to register as the handler. We can close the welcome guide, uncheck the box that says to show it every time. I don't send them my telemetry data. And now we can install those few plugins that I mentioned. Go to File Settings, Install, and just search for Fortran in the search box. And I like IDE Fortran. Oh, go back. IDE Fortran, Language Fortran, and Liturgy Fortran. So click install on those and let them install. And it will ask about installing dependencies, so say yes for any of the dependencies it says it needs to install. And then we can do a file open folder, and let's go find the project I already downloaded, and we'll open that one. And we'll open some Fortran code, and That's a little small, but we can make it bigger, and you can see we've got nice syntax highlighting. And hopefully, like if I open, we can open some of these asserts and might start getting, maybe let's relaunch it. And I tend to like launching it from the command prompt. Into my project. I like launching it from the command prompt with atom space dot that says open atom in this folder. And that will, now it's going to tell me it's installing some more dependencies. Say yes, you can install those even more dependencies. And now you can see we're starting to get error messages from the linterg Fortran package. This one's saying it can't open that module file, which is true. It doesn't know where to find it because we haven't set up the settings for that yet. But we can tell that it's at least working. And I'm still not getting from the IDE Fortran. Let's open the settings for that. So you can go to packages and it will list all of your installed packages. So let's click on the IDE Fortran settings and look at that. It says, I believe there is a dependency that it talks about that it doesn't. Yes, we need to install this package as well. So we go to install and do atom-ide-ui. And that should enable the Fortran IDE features to start working. And once that's installed, now we should start seeing some features of the IDE, of the Fortran IDE working. Yes, now you can see that it will give autocomplete suggestions with additional information. It will do hover over to. It says we have conflicting. Let's disable diagnostics and hit close. Okay. And so now when you hover over procedure names, you'll get information about the interface for that procedure. If it's a generic name, then you'll get information about all of the interfaces. Like you can see there, you'll see it's this one isn't even an intrinsic. In fact, it actually found this from my dependency. This is from one of the dependencies of the package, so it found that one. And there's some other nice features of that, having that. And so now you are all set up to do Fortran development in a really nice environment. There are a lot of tools here that are going to be helping you out while you're writing your code. And so this is everything that I have installed and configured for doing Fortran development on Windows for me. Your mileage may vary, but hopefully this was informative and helpful, especially if you're just getting started. So I hope you found that tutorial helpful. Make sure and click the like and subscribe and the bell icons to get notifications when I release new Fortran videos. And I will put some links and descriptions down in the description for written instructions. So hopefully you'll find that helpful. And let me know if you find this setup uh, useful, if you like it. Maybe you have a different setup that you want to tell me about. Let me know how that works. Leave comments below. Hope you guys found this useful.